Grey Crochet Podcast. Good morning, I'm Elizabeth of Earl Grey Crochet, and I thought I'd film a little update about what I've been working on, some objects I've finished, and some of my plans for my crochet future for the next month or so. My last few videos I've filmed lots of different takes and it takes a lot of time, so I thought I'd do a different sort of video, a bit more in the style of lots of the crochet podcasters around on YouTube. Some I've been enjoying recently, Emma of the Potter and Bloom podcast, Lindsey of the LottieAndAlbert podcast, and I've recently started watching Clarisabeth of the CrochetCakes podcast. Yeah, I really enjoy watching all of them, and I'll sit and crochet for half an hour or an hour and just watch them chat about crochet and a bit of knitting on YouTube, and I really enjoy it. So I thought I'd give it a go of something a bit less structured and a bit less pressure in terms of taking different takes and all that sort of stuff. So this will be a bit less smooth in terms of there'll probably be lots more mistakes and I'll muck up saying different things, but I hope you enjoy it. So today I've just started 2 weeks of holidays from work. I usually work full-time. Either, I do morning shift or afternoon shift sometimes, and the afternoon shift especially gives me a lot of time in the mornings to crochet, and that's when I get the bulk of my crochet done, which I really enjoy because I often start work at 2 p.m. and then, I get up at 8 even, and that's not that early, and I have plenty of time in the morning to spend crocheting. But yeah, this week I'm on holidays because we are flying to Melbourne in a few days for VidCon. Now, if you don't know what VidCon is, it's the YouTube convention, and this year is the first year it's in Australia, which is really exciting. Years ago, when Hank Green first started it up in the US, I wanted to go almost every year, and I was like, one year I'll totally go, and I'll go to America just for VidCon. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, but when they announced they were doing one in Australia, they also did one in Amsterdam early in the year. When they announced they were doing one in Australia, I was like, Matt, that's my husband, we have to go, we're going to Melbourne. So we're going to Melbourne in a couple of days, and yeah, over the weekend we'll get to see a few YouTubers that I've been watching, a few that I've been watching just for a couple of months, and some like Hank Green that I've been watching since like 2009, which is really exciting. I'm so excited. So yeah, we've got a little holiday planned, and it should be good. Hopefully I'll be able to do a bit of crochet while we're away as well. So I thought first I'd talk about some of my finished objects that I've completed recently. The first is this beautiful By the Sea shawl. So the pattern is by Sarah Shrimpton of Annabu's House, and it's designed to be made with just one ball of, or one skein, I should say, of sock weight yarn, which is excellent because I really like how beautiful all the sock weight yarn is, but I mostly feel like it's works up better as in if you're knitting, like in knitted socks, obviously because it's called sock weight yarn, or in knitted shawls. So I was really excited to find this pattern that uses one skein of sock weight yarn, and yeah, it's really quite simple. I've made some little tassels to go on the end, which I could have attached a bit better, but I'll try that again next time. Yeah, it's really quite simple once you get the hang of it. And the yarn I think I showed in my first video, and it's hand dyed by Handmade Beck, and her yarn selling company is called Saltwater Yarns, and she's another Aussie, and she did do a few podcasts or YouTube videos back a few months ago, which I really enjoyed watching. But I understand, it's hard to always make the time for these sorts of things. Your main passion is always the knitting or your crochet, and everything else, YouTube and Instagram, it's all secondary really. But yeah, she's over in Perth, so it's great seeing another Aussie around. Next up, recently I finished this little bag. So it's based off this little bag that I made a few months ago. This one's made for dice. My husband's a little bit into Dungeons and Dragons. I just dropped it. My husband's a little bit into Dungeons and Dragons, so he has, some of the dice, and he got me to buy some. Of course they're purple, like everything else in my video, pretty much. So I thought I'd make myself a little bag to keep all my little dice in, even though I don't even play Dungeons and Dragons. But that's fine. It's cute purple dice in a bag that, strangely enough, is not purple. Anyway, so it looks pretty cool. Just got a little drawstring that I made. I finished it off with some crab stitch or reverse single crochet, and it just ties up like that, and it doesn't really come undone unless you pull on it. And so I decided to make a bigger one as a project bag. So this base is the bit that took the longest, because the last round of the base ended in 120 stitches, and so the hardest bit was probably counting up to 120 and making sure I had the 6 increases spread out evenly across 120. And I get a bit obsessive about not stacking my increases on top of each other, because then you don't end up with a circle so much as like a hexagon shape if all your increases are sitting on top of each other. But once I got to there, you know, I just did a row in the back stitches, which you can kind of see. I did a row in the back loop, sorry, and then just work up, change colours whenever I felt like it. I think it was about every 10 rows. And yeah, what I do here to put the drawstring is I do a double crochet and then skip a stitch and chain and then another double crochet and continue like that all the way around, and then I can weave the little chain back and forth. And I did another crab stitch on top of that bag as well. And what's really good about this one, because I made the drawstring so long, you know, to fit 1.5 times around when it's like this, if I don't have too much in the bag, if it's light enough, I can just use it like, you know, as a little shoulder bag. But yeah, once I start putting a few too many things in there, it gets a bit too heavy for that. So really it works really well as a little project bag with some yarn, maybe one hook. I'm a bit concerned about putting scissors in there, but it does work out. They usually don't cut the bag, thankfully. But the colour scheme for this was based off my granny square that I made for Granny Square Day back in August, which if you go on Instagram and search for the hashtag Granny Square Day 2017, you can see all the different squares that everyone made, and it's kind of like a big virtual blanket that all the crochet community and kind of knitters as well of Instagram put together, which I think is really cool. So this is the first granny square I've made in ages, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The last granny squares I made were for a brown blanket for my husband, and that was a little while ago. And I think I've come a long way since then. So yeah, it's nice to have a little square. I think it looks like a sunset. Obviously, I don't know, I bet you can't tell what my favourite colour is. Also finished, finally, because I started this one ages ago, this bear, which is for a, I suppose a charity cause. It's called Toys for Syrian Refugee Children, which is run by Chubby Knots over on Instagram. Her name's Justine, and she started this, I guess, project where she wants to take 500 toys over to Syrian refugees for Christmas, which is just, I suppose, such a great way to show the kids over there some love when they're in such a hard situation. Yeah, it's just a little thing we can do to help out. Like, I think it's lovely. So hopefully I'll get some more toys to make. There's a bear pattern, a unicorn, and a lion, and so I'm planning on making at least one of each of those. But I finally finished the bear. For his eyes, what I did was I just did a magic circle, and then I did 6 single crochets around and just embroidered that on, and then or sewed it on using the ends, and then also using the ends I gave him some little eyebrows because I thought that was adorable. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some of my whips. So my works in progress, which, yeah, a few videos ago I showed you my hookah cowl, which I've made some progress on, thankfully. So the way this works, oh, it's beautiful. The way this works is we crocheted single crochet back and forth in many rows, and you know, there was different segments, a different part of the pattern released each week, which was lots of fun. I kept up for the first couple of weeks, probably about to there. And then this panel, like we crocheted up to there for 1 week, and then we crocheted up to here for the following week, and then the week after that was the embroidery for this section, and the following week was embroidery for this section. I just got really bogged down and slowed down in those few weeks. So you can see here, I haven't even done the embroidery. I've just crocheted, done these separators so I know, you know, how many rows I've done and kind of where I'm up to. And then I finished this end. This is the last panel, which kind of matches, but is a bit different to the first panel, as you can see. And then crochet a few rows just going all the way around, and then at each end, I've started at this end. Look, I didn't even finish a row last time I put it down. But you do a few rows alternating the sheepshead stone washed and a few different colours of the sheepshead Katona, which is 100% cotton. And yeah, just makes this lovely edge. And so I've got a little ways to go, but I'm nearly finished the crochet part, and then obviously lots of embroidery slash cross stitch. It's just all cross stitch. Lots of cross stitch left to go. And then I guess this is the scary part. All of the ends that are just everywhere. Of course, there's not many on this panel yet because I haven't done the cross stitch. But look at that. What even? We'll get there. This is a long project. And I've got some beautiful fabric, which I think I showed a few videos ago as well, that I'll sew on the back so that really I don't have to worry too much about how neat the ends are. I just kind of have to hide them away and, you know, make sure everything doesn't come undone, really. So yeah, that's a lovely project and it's going pretty well. It's slow. I have no idea what I'll do with it once it's done. I don't know if I'll ever wear it because it's not, I don't know if it's the kind of thing I'd wear, but that's alright. I've really enjoyed working on it as a project, and I think some other people have said they'll make theirs as a wall hanging. Maybe that could be nice. I might do it. The cross stitch designs are really nice, and it could make a nice decoration. We just don't have lots of wall space to hang stuff on in our apartment because I've kind of filled it up with other stuff. Oh, and so because we're going to VidCon in a couple of days, which is very exciting, one of the people we get to meet her name is Reardon, and she runs a YouTube channel called How to Cook That, which is excellent, and it's so fascinating. I haven't made many of her things, but I did make her macarons a little while ago. Oh my goodness, they're so tasty, and just it worked really well. Of course, Matt, my husband, helped a bit. He's a bit better at all this cooking stuff than I am. He did hospitality at school, so he kind of knows a few tricks, I guess. But yeah, Anne Reardon's videos were really helpful, and she had lots of good tips for making the macarons work out well. And so she's recently released some merchandise that you can order online, and one of the things is a little plush donut pillow. And so this is kind of based off that. It's a donut, and I've made the frosting, and so the last thing I have to do is just make a little face for it, like the donut. And I'll put a link over to her plush in case you want one, because I'm not making more of these. That's not going to happen. But if you want one of her plush donuts, head over to her website and order it. And I think they ship, maybe in October she's going to ship them, so it's like a pre-order if you order it now. So yeah, I'm just finished this frosting slash icing, I suppose I'd normally call it icing, this morning, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So that's the front, which is based off her plush, and then I haven't seen a picture of the back of the plush, so I just kind of winged it, and yeah, that works. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so it'll get a little cute little face, and yeah, we're really excited to see Anne at VidCon. We're also going to be seeing Annika Victoria, who sews, and she makes lots of videos about thrifting, or in Australia, it's called op shops. So she buys lots of clothes from op shops and kind of alters them and cuts them up and makes something really new and cool out of them, which is really, yeah, nice. I love, yeah, handmade stuff, obviously. I spend a lot of time hand making things, and so it's really cool to see, see her putting effort in to make handmade clothes. That's really cool. And she's really good at making tutorials that you can follow along and make your own handmade clothes from either fabric or thrifted clothes as well. I keep saying thrifted, and I have no idea why, because normally I just say op shopped. Okay, and my third work in progress I'm going to talk about for the moment, I'm sure I have more, but they're boring at the moment, is in my bag, of course. There's a pen in my ball of yarn. It's causing issues. There we go. So this one, if you've been following me on Instagram or even on maybe on YouTube for a while, you know, most of the things I work with are, most of the yarn I work with is acrylic. It's mainly because literally this one time I decided to crochet something and the pattern called for this wool that you can get at Spotlight, and to be honest it's quite a cheap wool. And I don't know why I didn't realize that at the time, that it's a crocheted shrug, and I never enjoyed wearing it. I will only wear it if I'm, you know, already wearing long sleeves underneath and probably something around my neck, because I really don't like the feel of that particular wool on my neck. But what it did was, when I crocheted it, it meant I was kind of horrified of working with wool ever again, like 100% wool. But of course then I stepped a bit out of my comfort zone and ordered this handmade wool from Handmade Beck, and I really enjoy it. Even the smell is really beautiful, like it's just lovely. And it's like, it's not itchy at all, because it's I think 75% superwash merino and maybe 25% nylon, something like that. Maybe it's more of a 70-30. But yeah, this is also 100% wool. It's actually a baby wool. Look, here's the tag. It's Peyton's Baby Dreamtime Merino 4-ply, and it's also Australian merino. So it's 100% Australian merino, and it's lovely. I mean, of course, it's a baby wool. You're not going to make a scratchy baby wool. That would be just mean. So I'm making this. It's actually a combination of 2 different patterns. One of them, oh dear, I've just pulled one of my strands. One of these patterns is really popular. What have I done? Anyway, I'll fix it later. So it's a combination of the Call the Midwife pattern, which is a pattern based on a little blanket that appeared in an episode of the TV show Call the Midwife, which I've watched and have on DVD, which I really enjoy. And it's obviously in a diamond shape rather than, you know, the little rectangles with those bits in the middle. So this is the part that's based on the Call the Midwife pattern, but then it's done in a diamond shape. And I'm really enjoying this. I guess it's probably the first time I've done filet crochet, which is when you do, you know, the chains and skip stitches and that sort of thing to create different designs. I think that's what it is anyway. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's actually pretty straightforward. Like, you kind of have to count, but also, you know, just pay attention to the shape the diamond is going in and where you're up to. And I just don't usually count. I can just, you know, do it without counting that much. And I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of a little baby blanket. Yeah, it's lovely. And I don't know, maybe if you heard that rattling around. Recently, I made these little tags. It's a little hook and some shrink-it ink plastic. At least that's what I call it. And it's a 3mm. It says 3mm on it, and it matches my 3mm clover hook, both like in the color. And so I've made a whole batch of those, and they're great because it means I can just chuck it on a project, and then I can keep all my hooks together. And sometimes I keep them in a bag, or sometimes I keep them in a jar. This is my jar of clover hooks. I love them. They're my favorite. Anyway, so sometimes I keep them, it's kind of a little pencil case that I'll keep them in if I'm going somewhere. But yeah, having these little tags means that I know exactly what hook I used for each project, which is excellent. And then I can keep track of that, but also have multiple projects for the same hook. Whereas, I mean, I could keep the hook with the project, but then if I want to use the same hook for another project, then it messes everything up. So that's that. That's going pretty well. I think I'm about up to the 3rd ball, and I have 10 balls of yarn. They're all 50 grams each. So I suppose it'll be about 3 times that length, which that's pretty good. I don't know what the length is. I'm just making it up. We'll see how we go. Yeah, so that's my last work in project, and work in progress that I'm going to talk about. But I have lots of plans for crochet projects coming up. The most exciting one, well, I guess the most concrete one, is I'm going to be joining in on the Cake Cal hosted by Emma at Potter and Bloom, and she's designed the Liula pattern, and it's meant to be made with a yarn cake. Of course, if you watched my last video, I am really enjoying yarn cakes, and I still have my shipped as well that I haven't used. I'm being real precious about it. It has to be like a really decent pattern to use it. But I've ordered a cotton flowers cake, which Emma recommended. And yeah, hopefully that arrives before we leave for Melbourne, and then I can take that project with me. That would be excellent. If not, I suppose I'll have to take something else, and that's fine. We'll manage. And also, yeah, if you're after a Cotton Flowers yarn cake, yeah, head over to the Cotton Flowers Etsy. Make sure you watch Emma's podcast first, because she has like all the information about the cake cow, and she has a discount code for the pattern. It is a paid pattern, but she has a 50% off discount code for the pattern that runs until like the end of October or something. So, and that's how long the cowl goes, the crochet-a-long. So this crochet-along's a bit different to the Haigi cowl, or the Hygge cowl, sorry. In that it isn't pattern released in stages. It's just everyone making the same thing together, and it's really lovely to see everyone, especially with all the different colours of yarn cakes, to see how it all works up into the pattern. It's very exciting. I'm also kind of interested in crocheting more garments, I suppose, rather than just scarves and shawls, because it's not really that cold where I am. Like, it's cold a few days of the year, and this is nice to wear quite often, but I can't crochet like chunky stuff. Like, that's why the Hygge cowl, I don't know if I'll wear it. It's probably going to be quite warm, and it's kind of bulky. And so I want to make garments, especially summer is kind of coming up in Australia. We've just started spring, and I'd love to make a little crocheted top, which I did try a few months ago. I made this top. It's got some straps, and look, it's a lovely pattern and it's lovely yarn, but they were not meant to be together. That's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you crochet things and you're just like, why did I make this? I'm never going to use it. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so this lovely yarn is DMC Natura Just Cotton, and it's in such this gorgeous purpley pinky colour, and I ordered it from an Australian store called Yummy Yarn and Co, and they're out back in New South Wales. I'm not sure if it's Dubbo or Wagga now that I think about it. But yeah, I ordered this yarn like probably a year ago, had it sitting around for 6 months, and then decided I'm really itching to use it, so I used it for this top. But I don't know if you can tell, to get the right size for the top, I used 2 strands of yarn at once, which I think because it's cotton, it's really solid. Like, it just doesn't work. So quite a while ago I decided I'm going to pull this apart. I want to find a decent pattern to remake it in the yarn into before I pull it apart. Because, yeah, I may as well. So I'd found this pattern, and it was designed specifically for this yarn, the DMC Natura Just Cotton, and the Yummy is a particular colour range. There's the Yummy colours, which are kind of pastels, and then other ones which are not. Anyway, yeah, so I'd found this top, and it's like a DMC pattern, and so it's designed for this cotton yarn, and I was like, cool, I'll buy it, excellent. And it's like a little collar, and it's got some little flowers across there, and it's kind of like no sleeves, and it looked really lovely. And I was like, oh, it's £2.50, that's excellent. I'm happy to pay for patterns, because someone's gone to the effort to design it, so I'm happy to pay for patterns. But when I went to order it, well, buy it and download it, the website I was on, well, it's not a downloadable file. If you've seen my Instagram stories the other day, you might have seen my issue with this. It's not a downloadable file. You have to have it come to you in the post, which means you have to pay postage, when normally you'd be able to download a pattern like that. And the postage to Australia for everything from this website was £15, which is like $24 Australian. So plus the £2.50 is like $30. And that's just outrageous. Like, when I should be able to get, like, I don't even mind paying $10 for a pattern. That's fine. But having to pay postage on a pattern that I should be able to download as a file, and I'd like totally decided on this pattern. I was set on it, but I'm not paying that much in postage. So I don't know why they wouldn't have it as a downloadable file. Like, it's 2017. we live in a very digital time. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So from that pattern, I was a bit disappointed. If anyone, you know, has that pattern, that would be excellent. If you want to post it to me. I don't know, that seems weird. Anyway, so I've been, searching for a pattern to use this yarn for, and I also came across the Spotting Clouds top on Ravelry, and Clarisabeth over at the Crochet Cakes podcast is also doing a crochet along, similar to the Cake Cow, for the Spotting Clouds top. And I was really excited because you use a shipji as well, and I was like, oh, that'd be excellent. I don't need to crochet this into another shawl. If I crochet to it in top, that would be excellent, and I could wear it all the time. But once again, I didn't read things properly, and I didn't realize you need the shipji as well, plus like 2 or 100 grams or something of the shipji's katona. So basically you need the cotton, does the top part, and then you start your shipji as well, which is, you know, it works for the colors that it was designed for, because there was a white cotton, and then the shipji as well that was used was the blueberry bam bam, so it fades from white through to blue and grey, I think, and it looks like clouds, and it's really lovely. I think I might struggle to get a cotton that matches either this colour or this colour, because that's what I want to do. I don't want anything too different, but we'll see how we go. I am going to a couple of yarn shops, both in Sydney and in Melbourne, in the next couple of days, so we'll see what we can find. So yeah, hopefully I'll be participating in a couple of crochet alongs in the next month or so, which is very exciting. And yeah, we should have a good time in Melbourne. Be flying out in a couple of days, and I'll see if I can maybe get some footage while we're out there. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed having a look at all my things I'm working on. If you want to follow more of what I'm up to, I'm Earl Grey Crochet over on Instagram, Facebook, and obviously YouTube. And I've been using Ravelry a bit more recently to get into the crochet alongs. There's lots of Ravelry groups, and over there I'm hexokinase, which, as I've said before, is an enzyme involved in the breakdown of glucose. Who knows? I set my Ravelry account up way before I started Instagram and thought up the Earl Grey Crochet username. So, hexokinase. If you see me over there, feel free to send me a friend request or follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I'm putting up lots of projects on Ravelry. I'm really enjoying how it works, finding lots of different patterns on there and all the different groups. There's a group for the Cake Cow with the PotterAnd podcast, and there's a group for the Spotting Clouds crochet along with the Crochet Cakes podcast. There's too many cakes. I keep getting confused with all my words with the amount I'm talking about cakes. Anyway.